When you bring pictures into a document here in Word 2016, you may like the picture as is, or you may want to spice it up. In this movie, we're going to make some adjustments to the images on our first page of the Landon Hotel Guide we've been working with. And if you skip to this movie, just open up LH Guide 0905. You'll have what I have. We have a double-decker bus, tower, hot stone massage for San Francisco. Let's start with the double-decker bus. We'll give it a click. Now, when you do this, you'll notice the Format tab under Picture Tools appears. Give that a click to get access to a number of different options. The easiest way to change the look of the image is to go to some of the picture styles. These are presets that you can click the drop down for and see quite a number of different options. So if we wanted to, for example, have a nice dark border around it, or maybe a white border with a three-dimensional effect by that perspective shadow that appears behind. Rotate it a little bit. How about a three-dimensional bevel perspective? Or some with reflections, as you can see. Now we can recreate all of these ourselves. These are just some of the presets we might want to choose from to help us get started. So instead of choosing one of the presets, let's just click in the background. The image should still be selected, and instead we'll go to Picture Effects. Click the drop down, you'll see a number of different categories. There's the presets if we wanted to. Some of the presets that we might want to select for three-dimensional effects. Again, we can hover over these to see what we're going to get. But we also have shadows, reflection, glows, edges, bevels, and 3D rotation, and we can combine as many of these as we want. So if we go to shadow, for example, you can see no shadow is applied. But there are a number of preset shadows to choose from, and as you hover over these, you get a feel for what you're going to get. Right on the page, you can see a real live preview of what's going to happen if you make the selection. As we scroll down, you'll see some perspective ones as well, where it appears as though the light is hitting it from the front at an angle, or from the top. Cool effects. But if you want even more options, click Shadow Options to open up the Format Picture pane over here on the right-hand side. You can see all of those categories on the right, including the one we were looking at, which is Expanded Shadows. And there's our presets that we can choose from if we wanted to. Let's give one a click. You can see it's applied to the image. Now we can adjust things like the color of that shadow. Maybe it should be a dark gray as opposed to black to create a more realistic effect. We can increase or decrease the size of the shadow. We can bump it up or use the slider, the blur. The angle of the shadow can be adjusted as well if you wanted to. And the distance, that's going to create the effect of it coming off the page even further. The greater the point size, you can see the further off the page our image comes. There we go. Let's go back to the presets now and choose No Shadow. Instead, we can collapse this. You might want to consider adding a reflection. And with reflections, again, we see those presets, and we can select one and make adjustments like the transparency. If we bump that up, you can see through that reflection a little more. The size can be bumped down to create a more subtle effect. And the blur can be adjusted as well. And if you wanted to, the distance. Bumping this up creates distance between the reflection and the image. But we're going to go back to the drop down and choose no reflection at all. Instead, we'll collapse reflection, check out some of the glows. There are presets here as well. Not really what we need for this type of image in this document. But let's go to soft edges. I think if we could create a soft edge around the outside, that might be a nice effect. You can see the soft edges are simply in point sizes. The smaller the point size, the smaller the softness. So if we go up to, say, 10 points and click there, you can see we've created a soft edge around the outside. Well, I might want to bump that down to 9 points, which wasn't one of the options to choose from in the presets. So you have full control over that. There are also options for 3D formatting with bevels. We'll collapse that. 3D rotation. So if you've chosen a bevel, there are presets here for how you rotate it. And we can get to all of those here from the Picture Effects drop down on the ribbon as well. But we're not going to apply any 3D rotation. Artistic effects appear on the ribbon up here in the Adjust section. And there are a number of different effects you can apply. Click the drop down to see the presets. Kind of cool effects, but I think we want to be able to see the image clearly, so we're not going to apply any of those. We'll collapse that. Close the Format Picture pane by clicking the Close button. Deselect by clicking in the background, and you can see that's a totally different effect than what we started with. So I think what we need to do is apply the same effect to the other two images on our page. That's your homework before moving on to the next movie.